Yeah, it's actually all just due to grace. It's all just due to grace. It's all due to grace of God, really. The idea that you could do something for this is also in there's a part of it that's a bit of a hoax. It's all due to grace. Now, Ramana used to say, the grace is always there. You just have to turn within. And then the rest is up to grace. So what you have to do, you have to earn the grace. How do you earn the grace? You earn the grace by turning within. When you turn within, there's nothing you can do anymore. There's no longer you, just the self, abiding as the self. And the self, one way it's put is the self pulls you into it and then drowns you or dissolves you. Dissolves might sound a bit nicer than drowns you. It's a bit violent, isn't it? Or yeah, you dissolve into the self. That is not your doing. What you can do is turn away from Maya, abide as the self, and then it's grace. I think that's the most practical way of putting it. Again, we can become philosophical, and we can say even to hear the teachings, to hear of Ramana is grace. To hear of God is a saying. It says to hear of God itself is the grace of God. To hear of Ramana's teachings is grace. To be interested in Ramana's teachings, having heard them, is more grace. Reading up, learning more about the teachings, about Ramana, his life, feeling a sense of love towards him and his teachings is more grace. Then, but that's not enough. To then be convinced and take up the teachings and actually put them into practice is, how much grace do you want? So much grace coming all our way. So all of this we could say is grace. But from a practical point of view, you see, with this teaching is a practical teaching, you see. It's not a philosophical one primarily. There are holes. If you want to find holes in the teaching, you can find philosophical holes in the teaching. The purpose of the teaching is not to be philosophically correct and intellectually correct and everything. It's to get you to turn within and discover something for yourself. That's the purpose of the teaching. It's practical. So practically, if you're ignorant, you consider yourself a doer. You consider yourself to be the body mind, so you need to practice. So it's a very practical teaching to say, grace is always there. You have to turn within, and then you receive the grace. You see? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're doing a meditation practice, you sit down and you just leave it to the grace of God, that's good. But usually without the instructions explaining to the mind what is Maya or non-self and what is not Maya or true self, what is real, what is Sat, what will happen is the mind will stay in Maya out of habit, not knowing any better. Out of innocent ignorance, it just stays in Maya. It thinks it's out of Maya, but it's actually in Maya because it's still involved with objects. So unless the mind is taught this very radical teaching that it has to stay out of objects, not attend to objects and attend it to itself, then it doesn't tend to work. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. I'm curious what your story has been, or if that's documented on YouTube. I guess I could just watch that, but I haven't heard how this awakening happened for you. I'm curious.
I'm one of those annoying people where it's more the grace thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know what happened to me, actually. But the way I explain it is I was overcome with um, love for Raman, and he pulled me into himself. That's it, really. And I don't even know when that happened exactly. I mean, I couldn't say it happened on Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock or something like that. It just happened gradually over some years, I think.
Wow. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.